What?
Huh?
Eh?
What?
What?
O'Doyle rules?
No. Never that.
But O'Doyle does rule.
No, they don't.
True, they did go off the cliff in the end.
Yeah, they did.
Spoilers. Shit.
That movie came out like fucking 20-something years ago.
Yeah, but
you can spoil it. If they haven't watched it at this point, I don't think they were going to.
I'm sure there are people that still haven't seen it.
That's fucking insane.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just believe that's the case.
Yeah, it's fucking wild though. Because what year did it come out? Like 90-something?
I believe 94? So.
Yeah, dude, it came out like 94. If they haven't watched it at this point, they're not gonna fucking watch it.
Yeah, more than likely you got a point there.
Spoilers are on. It's their own damn fault.
Hell yeah, brother.
God damn these tangents. Well, hey, everybody.
What about tangerines?
Nothing. No tangerines. No more tangents.
Damn.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Thank you for watching Krusty the Clown.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's not how it goes. My bad. How's everybody? How's everybody doing today on this lovely day of the week? Which,
depending on when you listen to this.
Yeah, for us it's not lovely because we got to go back to work tomorrow.
Oh, don't remind me.
Gross.
Someday this is gonna take off and we won't have to go back to work.
This will be work.
No. That makes it less fun.
Not in the bad way. Like, we'll be able to sustain ourselves, but just by doing this.
Work is work.
True. Let's not go there.
What do you have on the docket today, my boy?
Secret societies. Well, a secret society.
B secret society.
Maybe a D or an E.
C secret society. That's just secret society, but in Spanish.
Fair enough. But the question is, what about this secret society?
So I was just like mindlessly scrolling through TikTok yesterday. Had nothing better to do, like at 9 or 10 at night.
I mean, anything's better than scrolling through TikTok.
I mean, it does waste your time, but that's kind of the point.
But what are you going to do when it gets banned, which it's very close to being here?
Go to fucking YouTube Shorts, I guess.
Why not just watch actual videos?
I don't want to watch actual videos.
Learn some shit.
No.
God damn it.
That's what they want you to do. They want you to learn. No.
I mean, that's always a good thing. If
Ignorance
we don't,
is bliss.
Unless you're trying to podcast, then you have to learn.
No.
You have no choice.
I retain none of this.
Mwahaha.
I do a thing when I have to do research for the podcast where my eyes just kind of like dart off to different sides. I retain none of this.
Looking like Uncle Fester.
Pretty much. I fucking like a pug.
Oh, God.
I retain about 5% of this and then I forget it as soon as we're done with the episode. And then I listen to it later on and be like, oh, interesting facts.
Shit happens, my guy. Shit happens.
Yes, sir. It does. Well, but as I said, I was scrolling through TikTok just mindlessly yesterday. And there's been a lot of like, have you seen like the YouTubers and like the vloggers have been getting like canceled like left and right now?
Yes, that seems to be happening a lot.
Yeah, and then they start being like, oh, well, the Illuminati did this and that and this and that. So I kind of went down like an Illuminati rabbit hole. And I ended up like spending maybe like an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah.
On this guy's page that, his name's Dougie.
Like, teach me how to?
Yes, you gotta teach him how to, Dougie. And he kind of like explained how when he kind of like came up that he got invited to an Illuminati party with his friend at the time that he moved down here with.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna just kind of recap what happened with like that party and then the end results.
Yeah.
You ready?
Bum, bum, bum.
Okay. So this YouTuber Dougie, he moved down here. Well, not here. He moved down to like L.A. with one of his friends, David.
L.A.
L.I. With one of his friends, David, which it's been led to assume it's that vlogger David Dobrik.
Oh God.
Yeah. So they started off here, and then they started kind of like YouTubing and like vlogging and YouTube. I sound so old. I showed my age. And they started like vlogging, and then started making like content.
And those damn people with their camcorders and who's and what's it's.
And they started building kind of like a little following. And they got approached by like a business manager. He's like, "Hey," it's like, "we're really interested in what you guys are doing." It's like, "It's really cool and it's real nifty and all that."
Yeah.
And then he kind of just like, "Oh, well," he started talking to him about like these insider like parties where like celebrities go and they hang out and they can like kind of like social network.
Right.
Yeah, it's like network around. So he's like, "Yeah, just keep your eye out for an invite." So he goes and he's super excited and he's just like, he starts telling everybody that he can tell. Cause like how he explained it, like when you're starting to do this and it picks up, and you'll even see like with us too, where we're like, we get like a bump in like listeners, and then we're like, "Oh, this isn't it."
Yeah.
And we get super excited about it, and we want to tell people like, "Yeah, dude, like, yeah, we got this much more listeners. We have listeners from like this part of." So that's basically what he's doing. He's telling everybody like about his like this insider party.
Yeah.
How he's gonna go and he's gonna network, and that they're saying that he can be big. So what ends up happening is he tells another fellow content creator that lives in the same building as him, and he was saying that this dude's like the nicest dude you can ever like talk to.
Yeah.
He's like just like a sweetheart. So he ends up telling him, and then he's always like smiling, and his face kind of like goes flush, like he gets real serious, and he starts telling him like, "Hey, I had a friend that went to one of those like party things, and it's not what you think it is." But he doesn't want to tell him more. He's like, he just wants you to know that he didn't go through with the compromise that they had given him, and he hasn't been the same like since.
Yeah.
So he kind of is like, "Oh, okay, well, I won't go then, I guess." So what ended up happening was he went and he told his other friend David, the one that he came down with.
Yeah.
And he told him his concerns because he was like a little worried now because this dude's like always like super happy, and then this was like a real serious turn.
Right.
And then his friend David's like kind of like teasing, like half teasing, half like pressuring him. And he's like, "Come on, it's gonna be fun. Come on, stop being, don't be like, oh, don't be like that." It's like,
don't be a wussy.
Pretty much, rhymes with wussy. He's basically telling him like it's gonna be fine. It's like it's gonna help our careers. Like he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So then he kind of like, "Oh, okay, well, I've known David for a lot longer, so I'm going to trust him." So they end up getting a letter in the mail. They each get a letter in the mail. And this dude actually shows the letter, and it's like fucking trippy looking. So when they open up the letter, the inside has like flower print, and then it has the note that you pull out.
Yeah.
And it basically tells them, "Hey, you're invited to like this place," and it gives them an address, a time, and a date. And then it says "sincerely," but it doesn't say from who. And at the bottom, there's a gold pendant that's shaped like an eye.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like hole punched into the card. Yeah.
It's a very nice card.
Yeah. From when he showed it, it was like really nice. And then like it was like wax sealed, and it had like a cool little tree.
Huh.
So the day of the party comes, and they're like, "All right, well, we're gonna end up having it. Let's go." So the dude, Dougie, he kind of like bugs his family to like send him some money. Because you gotta remember that he moved here and he's still kind of broke, trying to live off of this.
Yeah.
So he goes and he rents a tuxedo, and then they get changed and they leave. And David's recording like the whole like car trip. Like Dougie's a little worried, but he's like trying to act like all excited and happy because it's on camera. That's how you have to act.
Yeah, don't let it show.
Yeah. So they end up getting to the party, and it's like up in like kind of like the Hollywood Hills. And they get to the party, and then they go inside, and then it's like this giant like room. And then the host comes out, and he's telling them, it's like, "You just gotta just enjoy the night. Expect to be here. You guys can't leave like till like midnight." I think they end up showing up like at 7 or 8.
All right.
So yeah. So he's telling them like, just have fun, enjoy yourselves, and then everybody's wearing like these masks, and then they have like alias names. So, yeah. So, Dougie's mask was a bear, and then David's mask was a bird. And then Dougie's alias was Stardust, and David's was Benji. So they're just kind of clowning on him.
Some weird ass names.
Yeah, exactly. Aliases. So then these kind of servers come out, and they go and they take everybody's phones because it's a crazy party, and then they make everybody sign NDAs.
Jesus.
Yeah, but he kind of like when he's talking about it, he's like, well, it's kind of like every other Hollywood party. Like the celebrities want to have like a good time, but they don't want to have to worry about somebody going out and like telling on them. They're like, what's going on? So he said people are like walking around with like their little half masks, but like from watching them like on movies and like TV, like all these years, like you can tell who's who. And this first room is just like a giant like cool room, and then they bring out like a giant pole, and they're basically playing just like Limbo.
Weird fucking party game.
Yeah. And they're just having fun, and then but he still gets kind of like a little worried feeling. So he goes and he finds like the manager dude that came and talked to him. He was standing behind the host. And basically what he tells him is like, just enjoy it, is like have fun, is like just kind of like indulge, you're fine. And then the first chime, so the first hour goes by and the clock chimes and everybody makes their way into like the next room.
Yeah.
And the next room is just like, it's a room, it's like decorated completely different. That's what he said he noticed first. And this room, where the other one was kind of just like a classic looking kind of Hollywood mansion kind of thing, the next room is like completely blue. And then they have like couches and they have like little canopies with like curtains that can be closed.
Crystal meth.
Yeah, and then he realized everybody's mood changed. Like as soon as they went in that room, they closed the doors. That everybody's kind of like more seductive and like flirty and stuff. And he tells David, is like, hey, there's like something feels weird here. And he said that David didn't really want to listen to it because he was like more focused on like all the kind of like the women talking to him and being flirty and stuff.
Oh, they're about to run a train. Not in a good way.
Whoa, let me get to that.
Oh, God.
So, he says he was like looking around and he was just kind of like walking around and kind of doing laps so he doesn't look like suspicious or whatever. So when he gets like the next little lap, he notices that people are getting to the canopies and they're closing like the little curtain things.
Yeah.
And I mean they're fucking.
I mean, can you see through these canopies? Because if so, that's fucking awkward.
I don't know if you can see through the canopy. He didn't say that. And then he said that the next bell chimed, and everybody just got up and started like moving into the next room. Even the people in the canopies that were fucking, they didn't really worry about putting their clothes on. They just kind of grabbed their masks, and that's what they kept on.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so they moved to the next room. The next room is just like a yellow room, and it has like these giant long tables like filled with food and all. How he described it is basically just like the banquet hall from Harry Potter. And then the back wall is filled with like spirits. And then everybody like just goes at it and they start eating. But he says that the way that everybody's eating is making them uncomfortable because they're not using utensils. They're just grabbing shit with their hand, putting it in their mouth, taking like bites, like chunks out of fucking like sirloin and prime rib.
But I mean, that's what I do with steak. Some days I'll just double fist steak and...
Yeah. But he said that the way they were doing it was kind of just like disgusting. Like they were like just indulging. Yeah. And the shit that they didn't like, they would just spit it out onto the floor. So then he kind of went and he told the guys like, hey, he's like, don't know what's going on here. He's like, I'm a little uncomfortable. This isn't really my scene. So dude tells him that the slow drip is better than the flood. To just enjoy it and just indulge and have fun. So then the bell chimes, they move to the next room, and it's just a completely red room. And everybody's like demeanor's changed. Like everybody's kind of like bundled up in like their little groups. And he's doing laps and walking around like the other rooms so he doesn't seem like kind of sticking out, basically.
Yeah.
So in this room, basically he hears like people telling like friendship ending things, like vulgar, like just hate speech, and they're fucking saying like slurs and shit like that. And
wait, so they're talking like they're drunk? Oh, fuck you.
No, not like they're drunk. Like
racial slurs.
Yep.
How dare they?
And he said that he's like real uncomfortable. He tried finding David, but he couldn't find him at this point. So he went and he just sat in a little corner, and he was kind of like, because what they were saying was like making him like nauseous and sick. So what ends up happening is they move to the next room, and this is a purple room. And what they're doing there is just everybody's kind of like just standing there in a circle. And the host of the party comes down and he says, well, can we have all the newcomers come up? And they have all the newcomers. It's like 2 rows. And Dougie and Dave were like in the last row.
Yeah.
So what the host was doing is he had a stack of books that was being carried like behind him. So he'd go to the first person and he'd ask him a question. And then he'd hand him a book and he'd put like a silver key ring on top of it. And basically, he didn't know what was going on. Couldn't hear what was happening until they got like 2 down from him. So what happened was, basically, the host was asking him like questions about their religion, like, are you like the Quran? Are you like the Bible? It's just like stuff like that.
Right.
And then he'd give him the corresponding book. So when they got to him, he's like, I don't know what's going on. So they give him his little Bible and they put the key on top and they give David his as well. So they start going to the first guy, and he tells them, like, you need to renounce your God, that you are the only God, and you're the most powerful. So everybody starts, like, doing that, and they're like, oh, okay, well, I'm the most powerful God, I only respond to myself, I am the one true God. So they're having them denounce their faith.
Fucking conceited much.
Yeah, they're having them denounce their faith, basically. And after they denounce their faith, everybody claps and like, yeah, and they cheer for him, and they take him to like another room. So they're getting to like the row that Dougie's in. He's like, he's telling Dave's like, I can't do this. Like, this makes me very uncomfortable. It's like, I don't know what, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So Dave's like, oh, come on, it's just for the party. It's just for like the theatrics and the amusement of it. So he kind of pushes past them and he goes in front of them. So it's kind of just to show him that everything's all right.
Yeah. Don't be a little sissy. Come on.
Yeah, pretty much. So what ends up happening is they get to Dave and he does it, and they escort him to the next room, and they get to Dougie finally, and he kind of tells him like, hey, I'm not comfortable doing this. I don't want to do this. Is it fine if I just skip it? So the host tells him like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. It's like, we don't want to push you into doing something you don't want to do. So then what ends up happening is the manager that brought him goes and grabs him by the arm, like hard, and pulls him away from everybody. And they end up taking his mask, and they end up taking his book and all that, and they tell him like, well, if you're not going to participate, then you can leave. So they kick him out. They basically put him like this little area outside just to kind of wait.
Oh God, have fun waiting for an undisclosed amount of time.
Yeah. So he's kind of hearing like the last of like the initiatives, like saying their whatever it is. And he's thinking to himself like, well, how the fuck am I going to get home? It's like, I didn't drive here. They have my phone. David doesn't know that I got kicked out. He's just inside. It's like, shit. It's like, what do I do? So he goes around the building to where it leads to the next room where everybody would have gone into. And he says that he tries looking in, but it's like church kind of like stained glass. And he's not really able to see in, but he finds a little spot where he actually is able to.
Yeah.
And he peeks in, and they're having him do some really bad shit, and they're recording it.
So, I will say here, because I'm going to have you explain if you can. So, anyone that is sensitive to, is it like violence? Is it like sexual violence?
Yeah.
Okay,
so he doesn't full on say it, but what he's implying is they're doing stuff to minors. And they're recording it.
So anyone that is sensitive to that, I mean, we don't condone that shit, but being it is part of the story, we're gonna hear part of the story. So anyone that's sensitive with that, please skip ahead. Give it probably 2 or 3 minutes and check back then. But everybody else that is willing to push through that and just keep our inner thoughts about what we would do to those kind of people, let that shine through, and let's continue on.
So basically what he says is that he peeks through and he sees like that they have the new initiatives laying down in coffins. And then there's older members that have been there that he recognizes standing around there basically doing whatever they want to them. And then they have underage people serving around there, and then they're recording what the new people are doing to like the underage people, and they're doing like a bunch of like illegal shit. So what he does is he says like, fuck this, like I don't want them to know that I saw this shit. So he runs out to the front, and he gets like the front, like he's getting towards the front gate. He's trying to think, like if I go left, I'll end up in like by like Santa Monica, Santa Monica, like around there. If I jog to the right, I'm gonna end up in like West Hollywood. So he's trying to figure out like which way is closer to where he's at right now. But he gets to the gate, the actual gate, and there's a driver waiting for him there, and he has his phone. So he's basically operating under the suspicion that they don't know that he saw any of that shit.
Right. So at least hoping.
Yeah, so he's like, oh, well, they don't know that I know, so that's why they're letting me leave. So then the driver gets him, and then he goes home, and he's kind of like, shit, like, what the fuck's going on? Like, that's fucked up. Like, what do I do? It's like, I don't know if David made it back. I was like, I don't know if he's still there or what happened.
Yeah.
So he has a friend that's coming over the next day. So he has to go pick him up like at 6 a.m. from LAX.
Fuck that airport. I've been there many a times. It's a cluster fucking a shit show. It's efficient, but also just fucking frustrating.
So he has to go pick up his friend Joe like at 6 a.m. from the airport. So he gets up and he's going and he gets down to the lobby of his like apartment complex. And he sees David there and he's talking like other influencers and they're like laughing and they're having fun and all that.
Yeah.
So then he pulls him aside. He's like, hey, can I talk to you real quick? And then David's like, yeah, sure. He's acting like nothing happened.
Right.
And he tells like, so then Dougie tells him like, hey, I saw that shit that they made you do. Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Is like, talk to me, dude. He's like, are you fine? Did they do something to you? Are you okay? And in that moment that David just kind of like fucking snaps on him. They starts fucking yelling at him and then like, but he sees in his eyes that he's scared and more than anger, it's fear. And he's yelling at him. He's like, well, fuck you, like this and this and that. So David ends up turning around, just like walking away, and he sees when he walks away, he pulls his phone out and he's dialing somebody, he puts it up to his ear.
Yeah.
So then he takes off, he's like, fuck, like, is he gonna tell on me? He's like, no, he's like my friend. He's like, he's not gonna tell on me. So he goes and he picks up his buddy Joe, and they go back home, and then that night, Joe's asking like about coffee in the morning, and he's like, hey, is like, what, you don't have any fucking half and half? Like, when a person doesn't have half and half.
Yeah.
And he just started laughing. He's like, whatever, man. He's fucking, you busted my balls. And so basically how he explains it next, what happens. So when he gets there, he realizes, like, he has the air mattress for his buddy Joe.
Yeah.
But it has a leak in it. So what he says is, like, I'm not going to have somebody come out all the way over here to visit me. And then I'm going to make him sleep on a fucking air mattress that sinks in. He's like, no. So what he does is he takes the air mattress into his room and he fills it up. And he lets Joe sleep on the bed, and then he sleeps on the little air mattress thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so...
What a kind guy.
Yeah. So he's sleeping, and then he gets woken up by Joe in the morning. He tells him, like, oh, dude, I was just busting your balls. Like, you didn't have to go get any half and half for me. He's like, I was kidding. And then in his mind, he starts kind of like, what the fuck is he talking about? And he goes into, like, the kitchen, and he sees a bottle of half and half on the counter. And he's like... I didn't go out for that, and I know that he didn't go out for that. But
so who went out for it?
Exactly. He's like panicking. He's like, who the fuck is like came into the apartment and put that there? He's like, I didn't do it.
When the fuck did we get ice cream?
Yeah. So he's like freaking out, and he's like, well, he's panicking. Like, did David tell anybody? And is this them fucking with me? It's kind of like trying to prove a point that they can come into my house.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to let Joe drink the half and half because he doesn't know if it's poison or if it's drugged or something. So, but he also doesn't want to let Joe know this, and he doesn't want to like freak him out over it, like nothing.
Right.
So, what happens is he just kind of like casually tells him like, "Oh, well, they're here. There's a cool little coffee shop down this way." And he's like, "Let's go there instead." So they go and they get in line, the coffee shop, and they're just kind of like talking. And Joe's looking at the menu, trying to figure out what he wants to order. And he hears there's two girls behind him. He hears a conversation. And it's the exact same conversation they had last night about the half and half. The same tone, the same kind of like complexion and how they're saying it. And he starts panicking. Is like, what the fuck? Like, are they plants? Like, what the fuck's going on here? And then his buddy Joe overhears the conversation too, and he turns around and he tells him like, oh shit, we literally had this conversation yesterday. And Dougie's trying to like keep cool and like, oh yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like whatever, man. Like it's cool, it's like, it's funny, but in his mind he's fucking flipping out because this is the exact same conversation.
Yeah, he's starting to lose his damn mind.
Yeah, so they turn around to place their order, and then it turns out that the girls behind them, he was gonna try to like talk to him some more. Turns out that they had ordered their coffee ahead of time. And he says, like, that's what he found strange. Like, he doesn't know if it was, like, a plan or just coincidence. But people who order their coffee ahead of time don't wait in line. There's a separate line for them to grab their coffee and go.
Right. Like most places, even like Starbucks, you go in and they have that separate spot.
Yeah. So, with this stuff, and then he's talking about how him and his buddy Joe, they go run, like, this place called Runyon Canyon.
Yeah.
And it's, like, super crowded and it's packed and all that. And then after that, they were going to go... They had, like... They're going to go watch a movie. So, they're going and they get in the car after Runyon Canyon. And then after the coffee. And when he gets in his car, he realizes he gets in the car and he closes the door and he turns the car on. And then he realizes that his left blinker's down.
Yeah.
And he starts thinking to himself, like, did I turn left? I was like, no. I was like, I turned right to get into the parking garage. I turned right again to get to the spot. I was like, he starts thinking about it and he's like, did I? He's like, no, I didn't. And he starts like freaking out a little bit more. He starts overthinking it.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, maybe I hit it with my hand maybe like when I went in and I got out of the car. So he's like, whatever.
Yeah.
So then they go and they come back from the coffee thing. Same thing. He turns the car on, left blinker's down. So I starts thinking, it's like, I fucking like, okay. It's like, maybe I did. I don't know. So then they go to the movies and fuck, I don't remember what movie they want to go see. But the whole thing of the movie is basically like how one man's like taking on like this whole like organization, and I kind of gave him like a little like.
Sounds like The Beekeeper with Jason Statham. I believe that's what that's about.
Yeah, I think it was before this. I'd have to find the movie. We can add it to the notes later. But he was saying that like when they went to go to park in the movies, that he made sure like he checked the blinker, make sure that it wasn't on.
Right.
And then like after watching the movie, he's like, well, like I know that I'm pissing these people off now. I was like, I know that whoever's following me or they're fucking with me, they're getting mad because we're going to public places. And he's saying basically the reason he thinks that he was fine the whole time and that nothing happened to him was because he was with his buddy Joe and that they were in really public places.
Yeah.
So an accident couldn't happen to him.
Right.
So basically, Joe just finished the academy. Like, he's a cop. So he's like, well, I got my buddy with me, so I know nothing's going to happen. So they go and they get in the car after the movie, and he turns the car on. The first thing that starts flashing in his face is the little fucking blinker light to go left.
Uh-oh.
So now he's fucking freaking out. He knows now that he's not crazy because he made sure to check it before he left.
Yeah, and you'd hear the clicking.
So they had plans to go hang out at Venice Beach the whole time that they're going. He's like, well, let me try something, see if they're gonna fuck with me. So he goes and they get to Venice Beach and he goes to the valet parking, like the really expensive one. And his buddy Joe's like, well, that's crazy because he's got like this beat up shitty car that he's had for like fucking 8 years now.
Right.
And he's like, well, why are you valet parking it? And he's like, oh, we're to like not freak his buddy out. He's like, oh, we're gonna go all out. We're balling since you're out here.
Yeah.
So he goes and they valet parks the car and they go into like Venice Beach and they're kind of like just spend the whole day there. And when he comes back, he's like real like hesitant to fucking like turn the car on or anything. And he goes like, well, did they fuck with my car? It's like, maybe they didn't because it's like the public thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of test it out. So he goes and he fucking he tries to he turns the car on. No blinker light. So he knows that they're not fucking with him because he's out in public.
Yeah.
So they end up going home. So he kind of gets like the rhythm of what's going on. It's like they're gonna fuck with me if I'm not in public. Like, and I gotta make sure I don't let Joe know. Like, and he's worried about everything and he's kind of like stressing out. Like he's overthinking and he can't really have a good time.
But the question is, technically that's still in public. Just valeted. So, I mean, technically
Yeah,
the car
but
was still in a parking lot.
yes, but what they do is they have a valet walking in and out, checking all the cars, make sure nobody's trying to fuck with them, because these are like where everybody parks their high end cars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's why I said that he thought that his buddy thought it was weird because like he drives a piece of shit, and like they only rich people like valet their cars because it's like really expensive.
Yeah, so he drove that 81 Honda in there.
Pretty much, dude. This is an '81 Honda.
How dare you?
But basically, how he was saying is like, I can't afford to do this shit more than once a fucking week, or else I'm not gonna be able to have any more like money to spend with Joe.
Right.
So they end up going back to his apartment because he's like real fucking tired and all that. They get back into the apartment and Joe goes in and he's kind of like, they go through the lobby and he's kind of like hoping he doesn't see anybody that he knows.
Right.
So they go and they get into the elevator, and right as they're going, somebody puts their fucking hand in to stop the elevator.
Oh no.
And the person that gets in is the first guy that told him not to go to the party.
Yeah.
The super happy guy, and he looks at him and he's just kind of acting like he doesn't know him. Like he's like real quiet and just kind of like gives him like a little nod thing. And basically what Dougie thought was like, he's fucking disappointed in me. He thinks I went to that thing. He thinks I went through with it. So he kind of like nudges him real quick and he tells him like, I didn't go through with it. I left before. So then he kind of has like more of a like a relief, like more happier kind of like
demeanor.
Yeah. And then the dude gets off like on the 4th floor, and then Dougie keeps going up to his apartment. And then Joe's kind of a little suspicious, like, what was that about? And he has kind of like think quick, like, oh, some fucking people here pranked him for like a video, and I just let him know that I didn't go through with it. I didn't help him out with anything. I was like, oh, okay. So when they end up getting to the apartment, Joe goes in first, and he's like he tells Dougie, he's like, hey, he's like, you want to watch a movie? And then he's like, yeah, let's watch like a Marvel movie. And when he goes in, Dougie goes to close his door, and he goes and he puts his finger on the lock and he starts pushing it down. But as soon as it locks, he realizes something, because he's also looking out the fucking peephole to make sure nobody's been following him.
Yeah.
He sees just like an old lady turning the corner, but that's his neighbor. And when he hits the lock, he realizes something. They swapped out the locks to his apartment. Because his apartment lock, it had like a little nub on it, that's how he found it with his finger.
Yeah.
And that's how he would lock it. But when he did this, it was smooth. It was a completely new lock and knob. So his, you also knew it wasn't his, because his, you had to like jiggle it and then like push it down hard to lock it.
Yeah.
And he was saying that that's where he started getting a little bit more paranoid. Because like, there's somebody fucking come in here.
Right.
And he's worried because the only other thing he can think about was like, if it's a coincidence that like 4 months back he had told the repairman at the apartments that he needed a new lock because that his lock was like difficult.
Yeah, now magically it's replaced.
Yeah. And he said like, I don't think it was them, because whenever they do any repair work that they have to come into the apartment and I'm not around, they'll either call me, they'll send me a text, or they leave a note on the door to let me know that new repairs have been made.
Yeah. Like most apartments.
Yeah. So, and then he's kind of like panicking a little bit more because his key still opened the lock, but it's a completely new lock. It's like, are they trying to prove that they can get in here? And basically then after that, he's like, oh shit. It's like, this is fucking real. Like, this is happening. And he turns over to Dougie, and then, Dougie turns over to Joe, and then Joe's having like trouble trying to turn on the TV. He sees him like moving his arm around.
Yeah.
Different positions. And then he's like, are you gonna put the movie on? I was like, I would if you fucking TV worked. And he starts kind of like overthinking stuff at this point, because he's like, I just put new batteries in there like 10 days ago. And I don't watch TV that often, so I know that the battery should still work on that.
Yeah.
So he goes and he opens up the back of the remote, and he sees the batteries are in there, but they're flipped. That's why it's not turning on. So he pops them out and he flips them. Like, well, he's like, I know that they were working because we were watching TV before we left today.
Yeah, and it worked then.
Yeah, and he's like, maybe the repairman, when he came in, he knocked like the control off the TV, off the stand, and maybe the batteries came out and he had to replace them. So he tells his friend, he's like, oh, well, I'm gonna go change real quick. So then he rushes in and he checks his alarm clock that he has by his bed to see if they're flipping their batteries and everything else. And his alarm clock is a plug-in, but it's completely off. So he goes and he checks the back where it plugs in, and it's kind of like pulled out to the side.
Yeah.
So only one of the little, what is it called, little prongs?
Yeah, the contacts.
Yeah, is inside that outlet, and then the other one's kind of like pushed out. So to kind of look like somebody bumped into it as an accident. So he grabs the alarm clock and remembers like there's a component in the back.
Yeah.
With the battery, like, but I haven't used like the battery part of it in like a year. It's been like a year since I put the battery in.
Yeah.
He's like, but I haven't been using it, so it should be fine. So he pops the back up. There's a battery in there, but same thing. It's flipped backwards. So he's like, fuck. I was like, it's like maybe this same thing I put the battery in and I just never like knew. So then Joe's getting a little suspicious, like, hey, what are you doing there, bud? And he tells him, he's like, oh, I'm going to go use the bathroom real quick. And he goes and he's like, I got one more thing I can think of.
Yeah.
It's his little electric razor thing. And
you never fuck with a man's razor.
He pulls it out and he's just kind of like staring at it for like fucking 30 seconds because he's like worried about this. Like, I know this has batteries in it. I'm fucking positive this has batteries in it that work. So he's kind of like scared because he doesn't want to push the button because he doesn't know, like, if he pushes the button, it doesn't turn on.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, this proves that there's somebody in here fucking with him. So he goes and he clicks the button and it doesn't turn on. He opens the back part and same thing, the batteries have been flipped.
See, but the weird thing about this is it all seems kind of childish.
So what he started saying is like, what kind of like fucking evil mastermind are doing to play like games like this? Because they're not doing anything like to publicly threaten me. Because then I can just go out and like say that, hey, they're threatening me. They're verbally threatening me. What they're doing is they're showing them that any part that he think is safe isn't actually safe. They could get to him whenever the fuck they want. So it's like, what they're doing here is they're proving that they can come in without me even noticing. Like, they can, like, it's freaking them out. So he's like, well, let me check one more thing to see if I'm still losing my mind. Like, I know there's something in the closet with batteries.
Yeah.
So he goes and he opens the closet and he says that he felt like a fucking lump in his throat, that he felt like he was going to fucking cry. That all his clothes was hung up. But what they had done is they had fucking put it like, they put it in order, but like by color. And not by like the color of the rainbow. They're putting them like colors by like the gradiency of the color.
Yeah.
So they have like all reds on one side, but it's like different gradients of red. Like they went and they organized this. They took time to organize this. Like they were in his house for a fucking long time doing this. So he's freaking out and he's like, I have to tell Joe. Like at this point, I'm risking his life as well. But I don't know how to tell him. So he goes and sits on the couch and they start watching Captain America Civil War.
I was just going to say which one.
Civil War. And he's saying like that was his favorite movie, but he can't enjoy it because he's like, how am I going to tell him? He's like, I'm worried about this.
Easy. Just fucking out with it, man.
Pretty much, man. And he starts thinking about how he's going to tell him. He's like, you know what? As soon as the credits roll, I'm going to fucking tell him. Like the apartment might be bugged, but I'm going to fucking tell him. I can't have him here. Like, his stuff's already packed. I'm gonna fucking, if I have to max out my credit cards, I'm gonna get him a room. I'm gonna get him out of this fucking house. And I need him to be safe. So, he's like waiting for like the end credits, and the end credits start rolling. And he turns around to tell Joe, and it turns out that he's asleep.
Oh, God.
Like, he conked out. And he starts thinking about, like, do I wake him up? Do I tell him? Do I wait for the morning?
You wake his ass up.
No.
That's what he should have done anyways.
That's not what he did. So,
Idiot.
So what he ends up doing is he decides that he's going to tell him as soon as they wake up in the morning. They're going to go get coffee. They're going to grab Joe's stuff. And he's going to try to play it off as like, hey, surprise. Like, I'm taking you, like, we're going to stay at a hotel for the rest of the time you're here to, like, kind of, like, have fun and all that.
Yeah.
So he basically, he grabs the air mattress. He's like, I'm not going to wake him up. He's already on the couch. He grabs the air mattress and he inflates it and he goes and he sets it up like in the living room next to like Joe. He's like, it's going to be a lot safer. Like, if somebody comes in, we can both hear him and we can react, as opposed to like him being by himself and then me being in the room. So he puts that there and then he's like, I'm going to make it hard for them to get into the apartment without me noticing. So he grabs a chair and he fucking puts it right under the doorknob.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those that like you have to turn down.
Right.
And to basically lock the door. So they're going to get in. They're going to hear him when they get in. He goes to all the sliding open windows, and he puts like shit in front of them. So if they try to open it, they have to be very careful not to knock something over.
Yeah.
And then he goes and he falls asleep, and he says that he didn't fall asleep like out of relaxation. He fell asleep just how fucking tired he was and how much he was like thinking about everything and like worrying that he just crashes out. And he said he doesn't remember if he dreamed that night, but he got woken up by Joe again like in the morning. And he starts telling, he looks at the door and he's like, "You're gonna have to do some explaining here. Because if the pranks are this fucking bad in your apartment, where you have to do that," and he points to like the chair, is like, "You need to tell me what's going on. Because I know, it's like, you think I don't know you? It's like, I've known you since we're kids. Like, I know that there's something wrong, and I know you're worried about something, so you better start talking." So he tells him, like, "Let's go grab a coffee, grab your stuff, and I'll explain everything. Like, I'll tell you literally everything that's going on."
Right.
So they grab his stuff, and then he has, like, a couple bags to go, like, packed, and he takes them with him. And he starts walking down, and he sees that David's in the lobby, and he has, like, it's early in the morning, and he has a cup of coffee in his hand, and he's, like, talking to other people, and Dougie tells him, like, "Hey, I need to talk to you."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What the fuck's going on?" He's like, "This is shit's going on." He's like, "Did you fucking tell him or something?" And he just ignores him. Like, he doesn't answer the questions. He just, like, moves past him. He's, like, laughing. He's like, "Haha." I was like, "Whatever, man." So then he's asking, like, "What happened? What's going to happen to me? What's going on? Am I in danger?" And he just hands him a cup of coffee, and he walks past him and ignores the whole conversation.
Yeah. What a dick.
Yeah, so then Dougie's kind of like freaking out, and he sees that there's a piece of paper wrapped around the cup, like a napkin. Well, there's black Sharpie on it. So he throws a coffee when he grabs the napkin, and he like reads it, and it says, "You have to leave with him tomorrow, or it's you and me." So then he's like, "Well, there's my fucking answer. I gotta get out of here." So he goes and they get in the car. And he sits down and he realizes that there's something off about his car.
Yeah.
And he checks the blinkers, fine, nothing happened to the blinker. And he goes and he grabs the shifter. And he puts it in drive into reverse, like smoothly. And that's where he freaks out. He puts it back into park and he hops out of his car. He starts like looking around the car and he's like, "What the fuck's going on?" Like, he's checking, like, he goes and he checks his license plate and it's his license plate. And he checks the VIN and same thing. But he starts like looking around the car and he sees like a bunch of like little inconsistencies. Like, there was, like, a burn mark on the... Like, there used to be burn marks on the floor, like, where his friends would smoke cigarettes, and then the ash would hit the carpet and burn. And then even on top of his shifter, he used to wear this little bracelet with a key on it. So whenever he go to shift, he'd miss, and then it'd scratch up the top of the shifter.
Yeah.
So then he looks at the shifter, and no scratches. It's, like, new. So he starts freaking out, and Joe's like, "What the fuck is going on? You're gonna tell me right now, or I'm gonna fucking leave?" He's like, "I'm not coming here for you to be all fucking weird. What's going on?" And that's where he breaks down. He tells him, he's like, "Hey, do you notice anything weird about the shifter?" He's like, "Yeah, you got your fucking car fixed." And he's like, "You moved the shifter." He's like, "Is this some kind of weird prank that you're trying to pull on me?" He's like, "Think about it. Yesterday, I had the exact same shifter. Like, you've driven this car before. You know that it's a piece of shit. You know that what the shifter does.
Yeah.
You have to push the button, jiggle it, and then pull back. You just saw me pull it completely fine without doing any of that." And that's when Joe's like, "Fuck." That's when we start believing him. So he basically spends the time explaining everything that happened, the party, and then all the shit's been going on.
Yeah.
So what they do is they don't even go to the hotel. They grab his stuff, and then he's like, "I'm done. Like, fuck it." So they took the chance, and they drove that car all the way to Vegas.
Damn.
Yeah, they took their chance with the car, like, that it wasn't them, and they was panicking, like, if they can, like, get in and just, like, fuck with, like, the knob and all that and switch a whole fucking car out. What's to say if they didn't cut the brakes on the car, they put a tracker in it. So what they did is they got to all the way to Vegas. He goes and grabs all the paperwork that was in the car, and he takes it out, and then he pulls the plate off the car. And they just abandon it there.
Oh, damn.
And then he says, like, when he got to Vegas, like, he could, like, he's, like, a sigh of relief, like, fuck, like, all this shit that happened. And then he's, like, he starts looking around, he realizes that everything's not so secretive. Like, what he thought, like, secret societies, like, no, they're, like, out in plain sight. Like, I can see, like, right there, it's symbolism. So what ends up happening there is he goes on a hiatus from posting anything for, like, 5 years.
Jesus, that's a long time.
Yeah, he moves to, like, a small little city, and he never, like, discloses where he's at. And he said that after he's, like, seeing, like, how recently you see, like, a whole people coming out and telling, like, their whole, like, Illuminati stories after they're canceled and all that. and like all these like horrible shit that they have on them and all that. He explained that's exactly what's going on in the parties. They gather fucking, they make you feel comfortable. They give you a slow drip through like all the little rooms. And they slow drip you all like all these sins and like gluttony and fucking like the lust.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seemed almost like they were going off like emotions.
Yeah. So basically that's what they did. They slow dripped them sin. And then when it got to that second to final room, they had him denounce God to see just if they had him just enough that that they can force him to do this, and then they're gonna be like, oh well, I've already come this far. Like it's gonna be a waste if I don't. So I might as well get famous. And that's what they do. They give him all the little rooms with just enough little sin to keep him like titillated into wanting to go to the next room. And then the next room, and then the next room, and then to denounce their God, to show that they've like been corrupted. So then he says that he doesn't think that by chance that they ran into that manager dude, the business manager. He says that he feels that from the moment they got there, that they saw that they had their own little following, that they were growing, that they were going to blow up on their own without the help. What they want to do is they wanted to get their claws in them and then control every aspect of that. And be like, hey, you can make this money. And I was like, I can help you make this collaboration, but we're going to take this much from you. And if you say no, remember, we have all these blackmail videos on you.
Yeah.
We're just going to fucking straight up cancel your career if you don't go along with it. And that's why he's like, I'm glad I got out when I did, and I'm glad I didn't go to the next room. Because look at David now, and then if you follow anything like based on like David Dobrik, he had like a whole thing where like a girl like accused him of like she got sexually abused. Well, sorry guys, if you're not okay with this, I'm just gonna throw it out there real quick. She got sexually assaulted, and supposedly that David was on the other side of the door, just kind of like recording for his vlog or whatever.
Yeah.
And they came out like with a bunch of other shit, and they just kind of like basically canceled him.
Huh.
And that's been happening a lot.
So I'm assuming that's from him trying to not go through with what they want and shit. Yeah.
So then he said that since everybody's coming out and saying their story, that he feels comfortable to do it now. And he's still in his little undisclosed like location. So I heard this like at 10 at night, and I was like, fuck this, man. I'm going to bed.
Well, first things first, Illuminati, don't get any ideas, because where we live, it's put holes in those threatening us or endangering our families and ask questions later. So
yes, sir.
I don't care how famous you are, who you think you are. You try and do anything like that to my family, and I'm sorry, but you won't be around, because that is harassment, threats, endangerment. So, yeah, just no ideas.
Yeah.
Or Illuminati, sponsor us.
Jesus, no. The fuck?
I keyed.
Oh, like, did you not hear the goddamn story?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't take money from them. I mean, that's the bad thing with any sort of secret society, or they don't want to be called secret society, but it's all you can really call them. They don't let it be known what they are, what they do. I mean, look at the whole fucking Epstein thing and Epstein Island and everything else. Yeah, I mean,
all the shit's coming out, and then they're saying like, oh, well, they're planning it on him. Like, no, that's not. I don't know, man. Take it as you will on that one, but.
So, do you believe in the Illuminati?
Yeah, dude, of course. Do you?
Oh, you haven't seen my tattoo.
Oh, no. Slowly pans to the camera. Listener, do you?
And as all of you begin going into a deep sleep.
Okay.
Deep sleep.
I'll get the brands.
Yeah. And you will share this episode with everybody you know. Deep sleep.
Deep sleep.
Illuminati, images, carpal tunnel, arthritis.
All right, man. Well, that's my story for today.
Well,
it was a weird one.
That's a good one. It leaves a lot of questions and a lot of people to wonder about things, and to kind of look into what you believe and what you don't, but I can say I would love to see them try and fuck with Eminem because he will just fucking rip them apart.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's all we have for you this week. Thank you for stopping by.
We love you all. We appreciate you all. Again, don't forget, there is a link to the Telegram. It is slow moving, but that's what happens when you switch platforms. Discord was just being problematic with notifications and a ton of other shit, so it was easier to do the swap there, but join us.
You want to tell them about our new page?
Oh, yes. I almost forgot. So we are on YouTube. If you type in Tales from Helheim, you will see the episodes there. Granted, there's no fancy effects, visualizers, or anything like that. But for those of you that, YouTube might be your primary platform and you only came by this through a friend or happenstance, you can check us out there.
And that's it for this week. Thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you next time in Helheim.